We start our candidate interviews today, District 2 today, and District 4 tomorrow, District 6 on Thursday. Today we started out with Danny Herrera. Good morning, Danny, and thank you very much for coming in. District 2 candidate for the Yakima City Council.
Good morning, Dan. Yeah, thank you for the invite.
Yeah, good morning. Well, tell us about yourself, Danny. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your family. What do you do for fun? Stuff like that. Get to know you.
Yeah, if you had a chance to go to my website or just see any information, I was born and raised in Yakima, lived my whole life in Southeast Yakima. My mom immigrated to the United States in the late 80s with my older brother. I gone through Yakima's public school system, Addison Elementary, Washington Middle School, A.C. Davis High School. After Davis, I went straight to the University of Washington, got my Bachelor's of Arts in American Ethnic Studies, and actually right away I went straight into my Master's program as well. And I am certified to teach K through 8.
You've come to the right place. We operate on K through 8 around here. You found our level, Danny, so it's all good.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and my decision was always to return to Yakima and give back to my community, my family here. And you know that Seattle life wasn't for me. I know a lot of my friends or people I grew up with might make the decision to live there. I was not one of them, and I definitely wanted to come back to Yakima and make a difference, or just like influence youth, which I'm doing. So
that's what your profession, right?
Yeah. So
what do you do now?
So I came back. I substituted in the Yakima School District. I didn't want to go straight to teaching because that master's program was definitely challenging, and not many Latinos can say they have a master's degrees, less than 10%. So I'm very proud of that, and that just shows that my mom came here for the right reasons and gave us the opportunity. Now I have that chance to give it back. After substituting, I taught third grade for 4 years at McKinley Elementary. No, I didn't even know what the school was. It was the smallest school in Yakima School District, but I had the best time there. But the opportunity to have a change of career arose, so I got a chance to work for the College Success Foundation, which is a program that's based in Seattle, but it has been here in Yakima for 12 years. And what they do is pre-college service, and the target is first-generation students of color and students have experienced the foster care system. And they were very vital into my education when I was at Davis. And I was fortunate. At the time, it was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, so I got a full-ride scholarship to the University of Washington.
Wow.
So, holy smokes.
That's
good
nice.
for you.
Yeah.
So that's what I do now. I currently just work with freshmen and sophomores, helping them with that transition from middle school to high school, because that freshman year is very vital, and it's the year that most students drop out, and especially during this remote hybrid learning, we've seen that, and it's increased, and students need that one-on-one connection, and I'm there to provide it. I'm an advisor to a cohort of students, so I currently have 35 sophomores that are going to be juniors next year, and they'll go to my colleague, and then I have freshmen that are going to be sophomores this year, and then when I come back to Davis, I'll recruit a new cohort of freshman students to be part of the program.
Boy, you're busy.
Yes.
You're busy, man. Why did you decide to run for the city council?
I think representation matters. Even as a teacher, I saw a need for students of color, for teachers of color, because if you see at the student body of Yakima, over 75% of students identify as students of color, and only about 30% of teachers in the teacher workforce in Yakima are teachers of color. And I want students to see themselves as teachers, and now I have the position or the chance for my students or all the youth in Yakima to see themselves as city council members or public figures as they grow up, and then see that, oh, I know that person, oh, I can be that person one day. So it's just that influence I can have on the community.
Like a continuation of what you were already doing, seeing how this was impacted your life. Just by becoming a role model, continues the idea of, hey, you can accomplish this too. Is that a fair way to frame it?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. Especially my thinking was, first was, you can go to the University of Washington, you can go to college, right? And that's just a part of it, right? You get your diploma, you go into workforce, whatever you decide, and then as a professional, you can come back to Yakima and actually live here. So again, influence that, come back to the community, help it out, and if you want to. But that's what I want to highlight.
You're a living example. You're talking about walking the talk for sure. That's impressive. Good on you, sir.
Thank you.
I guess, Lance, you have any other specific counsel? I see you had a couple other questions about COVID, business, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I mean, we can look at, the problems that we see in our community, that, the homelessness, the crime, the gang crime. But I'm just wondering if you've been walking around your district, what are the people telling you? What are the challenges that they're telling you? What are the problems that they're telling you about? What do you think you need to address in your district?
Yeah, so I started just walking recently just because I'm a candidate. Like I said, I've been growing up there my whole life. And I've seen changes, the good and the bad as well. I can step outside my house and let you know there's a couple of houses that have been built in the last couple years, and that's great for the neighborhood, but there's still those houses that are run down, that boarded up, tagged up. So housing definitely. Yeah. Safe infrastructures, like I said, more lighting too. And it's crazy to believe in the last 2 to 3 years we had those sidewalks that lead to schools. And when I was growing up, I had to walk in the alley, I had to walk on the street because we didn't have those sidewalks. And it's crazy to believe that it's only happened in the last couple of years, and we should have had that a long time ago. Because if you look at other schools in the school district, they have crosswalks, they have stoplights, they have all the stuff, and we did not.
They're not saying anything about homelessness or gang crime? Are they telling you any concerns about that, about their safety?
Oh, yeah, obviously gangs, and I know I had mentioned it in the Yakima Herrera when I did my interview. Obviously, that's very public, and it's always in the news. But what we don't talk about is domestic violence, which is actually the worst violence in the Yakima city limits. So, obviously, growing up in Yakima, Southeast Yakima specifically, we do have a lot of influence on the youth reaching out to gangs because they have no outlet, no family, because our families usually are working. There's no programs. I had probably mentioned a couple times when I was growing up, I'd visit the Washington Pool all the time in the summer. There used to be programs at Kiwanis Park where they did arts. They give us food. They currently just have it at the Henry Beecham Center, but I don't see that anymore. It's just outlets for students to have. I'm glad that we still have the Madison House, which I have a good friend that runs the programs, and my students that go to Davis go there. Yama, the music program, if you haven't heard, students play band, orchestra, and they're just invested in something else and see themselves having a future beyond.
Do you think the city's doing enough now, or what to address the gang problem, the gang crime problem? If so, tell us. If not, what do you think they should do?
Yeah, so I can personally say I've had family members that I've turned to gang life, and I have that, and I have that knowledge. I'm not sure if any prior city council member, and I could definitely bring that up to the city council, and not only that part, but just having the professional side as well. I'm a board member of Dispute Resolution, and what they have as a program is Walkabout Yakima, and what they do is kind of work with the Yakima Police Department, the Union Gospel Mission, and they target those individuals that are highly potential of being shooters or victims of shooting. So they work with those victims. So instead of keep feeding them in jail, which is historically what we've been doing, just jail them, nothing, no resolution, no intervention of that. So I think we can definitely put more into that as well. So both sides of that.
How do you feel? And this is it's out there, it's real. How do you feel the representation has been under your current representative? I mean, your thoughts on how that has gone, or had you followed what Mr. White has been up to?
I will say that I haven't been following the whole Yakima City Council voting when it went from citywide voting to district-wide voting. Yeah. And again, I obviously focused on District 2, and we had a representative who was born out of the state, Washingtonian, obviously a resident of Washington, but not from Yakima, born and raised, grew up in the neighborhood. And then we have our current representative. I would say, obviously, I would like him to step up and speak for our district too. But I think he hasn't had enough airtime, so I'll just speak on what I would want to do, and that's obviously showing up and representing. And I could definitely say I'm connected to the community even before I even decided to run, which was probably the last or second day before you could file to run. So it was like, are you going to do it? If you're going to do it, you're going to all in. So I'm like, okay, I'm all in. So now this is where I'm at.
Good answer. All right, let me ask you this. In terms of representation, how do you get people to turn out and to vote? The ACLU created a minority-majority district when it changed our way of voting. And we have people from Yakima's east side getting elected with just a handful of votes. 573 votes put Mr. White in office, and it takes thousands to get put in office other parts of the city. How do you get more folks engaged to vote so that when you sit down at the council, you truly know you're bringing the feelings and the wants and desires of the majority of your district to the table, so that you truly are representing the district as a whole and not just a handful of folks?
Yeah, thank you. That's good. That's an excellent question. And I've learned through my education, you learn about people's history. American Ethnic Study was history of other groups that we don't learn in high school. African American, Chicano, Asian American, PI, Native Americans, all that stuff. So I usually say we haven't been misrepresented, we've just been historically excluded. If you think about it, like I mentioned, the two representatives didn't really affect the overall ideas and vision of the community. So again, I think we're not going to do it overnight. We're not going to do it in 4, 8, 10 years. I think it's going to take a while, and we have time. So I could be that one next notch in the history, and that's the step in the ladder that says, okay, maybe people in the East Side, specifically in District 2, can trust the city council, which we haven't, or the overall population is like, well, my vote is not going to do anything, but you know what? This is why I'm asking people to register to vote and get out there, and I'm glad there's other candidates running too, because they're pushing the same agenda, hopefully, to get people to register overall.
So the system changed, and now you've got change agents as people to work within that new change system, right? Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, and obviously there's been people before us as well, probably doing stuff behind doors, so definitely, but it's definitely, as us candidates we're at the front page. We're in the public figures doing that.
KIT News Time is 7:23. For just joining us, we're talking to Danny Herrera, District 2 candidate for the Yakima City Council. Danny, how would you describe yourself politically?
Yeah, that's always a thing that I thought, how are you going to do that? So I just say, I'm a community member. I'm a community teacher. I come from a family, that hardworking immigrant family. I do believe that my ideas do reflect what my community, which usually are more progressive ideas as well, too. And I think that comes back with also working in the education system and fighting for that inequality and fighting for my students, especially those ones that have been disproportionately represented or aren't given a fair chance in the system that actually wasn't built to serve students like us.
Do you what do you think the city council has done wrong in the last 4 years?
It's only an hour show, Lance. Come on.
Yeah, I don't want to go into specifics, but I think in the last month we've seen just accountability of council members, and we can go into different tangents so I think that's definitely something we can have an hour conversation a whole day, and people can chime in, and we'll just probably not ever stop talking about it. So I think that's just a big one that I want to throw out there.
Anything that you want to build upon that you see as successes that have happened? I mean, it's easy for everybody to kind of sit back and maybe pick away at things, but hey, say, look, council, this was good and we need to continue this, or use this as a springboard to other things. And I say that knowing this, that not everybody who decides to run does so out of an intense 12-month studying of what's gone to this point. A lot of people, like you say, make the decision, hey, I got something to contribute, I'm going to do it. That doesn't make me an expert on anything that's happened before. It just signifies what I have in me to bring to the table now moving forward. so I don't need to put words in your mouth. But I always wonder when we ask people about the council, it's like when I ran, I didn't know everything the council had done, so how do you be an expert on that? So that's just a little, giving you some cushion there, Danny. So
okay, no, thank you for that. I'll probably go into that tangent. I'll just bring a new level of professionalism. I've been a part of a lot of organizations in my undergrad and my master's program in the community as well. Dispute resolutions, just everywhere, YMCA, you name it. You could probably see my name, but sometimes, again, now that I put a name to a face, I'm out there. And it's just I think the resources that I have, the connections, experiences to the table, obviously, and bring those ideas, new ideas, right? Since we said what's a good thing, what's one bad thing, and so what we know is things that we've been doing aren't working, so let's change some things.
Well, certainly, you're a younger guy. I mean, the last, can I ask you how old you are? Is that fair?
Yeah, you could probably do the math. Graduated in 2009 from Davis. I'm 30 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're a young guy, lots of energy, I assume, and sometimes, as I think back of city councils past, a lot of tired old white guys on council, and so to have somebody with some youth, some connection to youth. We all talk about, we want to make a better Yakima for our kids. You're a living example of going off to school and could have gone anywhere probably after that and deciding to come back. The role modeling that you've talked about, kind of putting your life on demonstration, if you will, for what can happen for other folks. I think that's a tremendous message. I really do. We are divided as a nation. We're divided as a community. And the reason Lance would ask about how do you describe yourself politically is because people take their politics with them. There has been some frustration about the council, voting on climate change and things like that. A lot of people going, is this even the business of Yakima City Council? So I guess the question I would ask you is, what do you see is the job of a councilman and the responsibility of the city? People say, we got to fix education. Well, the city has nothing to do with education, technically. So what do you see as your role, should you win, and the role of the governmental entity in general?
Yeah, I will mention again, like I said, I don't know everything what the city council member does, but I do know as a representative, District 2, if I do win, is speaking up and having a voice for District 2, going out in my community and knowing the needs and concerns of my community, especially having those connections, especially knowing that most of my families are either low-income, middle-class working families, have students in the public school system, and live their day-to-day life in the streets. And they can be basic things as a street light, a speed bump, a stop sign, and obviously those concerns are going to come up. Like you said, maybe climate change, immigration, obviously it's another huge one, and knowing that I can say and know those experiences to the table when those come up, it's definitely a positive and something I can bring to the table.
Danny, we always give people a chance to give their elevator speech. So you got a bunch of people in the elevator. Tell them why they should vote for you as opposed to anyone else.
Yeah, my name is Danny Herrera. I'm a lifelong resident of Yakima, born and raised, graduate of AC Davis, graduate of University of Washington. I have my connections everywhere. Parents all live here, and I will continue to live here. And if my children will live here, and hopefully they go off to school and come back as well. You can see me out in the public, walking the streets, volunteering, or just enjoying Yakima.
Your webpage?
Yes, this is probably all the same, Mr. Herrera for Yakima.com, and then the same for Facebook and Instagram.